Hare Krishna. Om Ajnanatimidandasya Jnananjanashalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobhistam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadam Dati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Guru Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sakana Raghunathan Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sagana Dalita Shri Kanvitamscha Namo Padaya Krishna Pristaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Nami Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pratarini Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Pashata Deshatarini Jayu Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadara Srivasadi Gaura Bhaktavrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Namo Brahmana Devaya Go Brahmana Hitaya Cha Jagadhitaya Sapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrindavanasute Devi Pranamami Hari Namo Mahavadanyaya Krishna Prema Pradayate Jai Krishna Chaitanya Namni Gaura Krishna Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Eva Cha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namaha. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. Welcome everyone.
Hare Krishna Mataji.
Yeah. Is my audio clear?
It's not clear, Mataji.
Not clear?
Yes, Mataji.
Yeah. Give me a second.
Echo is there.
Okay, okay.
Yeah, Mataji. God. Santosh Prabhu, I am making you the host. I'll rejoin.
Okay, Mataji.
Yeah. So
Hare Krishna.
Yeah, Hare Krishna Mataji.
Hare Krishna,
Now it is
Mataji.
fine. I am very sorry. I had to
Yeah,
restart
it is fine.
Yeah.
Now
Okay.
your voice is clear, Mataji.
Okay. Now you. Yeah. Now can you make me the host, or you can make me co-host also? No problem. Just make me co-host so that I can share the screen.
Okay, can you tell me how do I do it?
You have to click on my name and then you can see that
Oh,
dots.
make post. Okay. Okay, Mataji.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mataji.
So you have to start from the section D, right?
Yes, Mataji.
Yeah. And before that, all glories to Shri Shri Radha Govinda. Let's take their blessings. Okay, so summary of section D, that sloka 13 to 19, where Krishna answers Arjuna's question, that is the object of knowledge. Object of knowledge is to know the super soul, right? The soul can know the super soul, who is the object of knowledge and who exists everywhere and pervades everything. The super soul has transcendental senses and he is source of all our senses. He is unattached and he maintains all living entities. Only the devotee can understand the field of activities, the body, the process of knowledge, and both the soul and the super soul. Neyam yattat pravakshami yajnatvaamrutamashnuते anadimatparam brahma na sattanna saduchyate. Santosh Prabhu, you'll
I
read.
shall now explain the knowable, knowing which you will taste the eternal Brahman, the spirit, the beginning, plus and subordinate to me, lies beyond the cause and effect of this material world. Hare
Yeah.
Krishna.
Hare Krishna. So now the Lord is going to explain about the initial. First, he will explain about the soul, and then he will explain about the super soul, because both are eternal, right? So which is beyond the cause and effect. So this cause and effect is from the material world. Material world is responsible for the cause and effect, and the living entity is the responsible for his own happiness and miseries. So I think we'll see that in further. Sarvatah panipadam tat sarvatokshi shiromukam sarvatah shruti malloke sarvamavritya tishtati.
Everywhere are his hands and legs, his eyes, heads and faces, and he has ears everywhere. In this way, the super soul exists, pervading everything.
Yeah. So Krishna is explaining about the super soul here. No, this is not about the soul. So here actually he's talking about the super soul, which is all pervading in nature. And this we saw even in the when Vishwarup was the Lord exhibited Vishwarup. So there also where Arjuna was able to see that everywhere you are, I can see your so many thousands of faces, right? He was saying like unlimited faces, unlimited hand, unlimited legs. So this is why he is speaking about super soul, because the soul does not have like this, and it is not all pervading. So the soul is limited to its own body, but then the Paramatma is pervading everywhere. So here Prabhupada gives an example of a sun, right? So how just like a sun is diffusing its energy everywhere, and the light, the unlimited rays the sun exhibits. So similarly, the super soul also is pervading everywhere. So that is the analogy used. And just like though he is far away, right? So still he is very near. It is like like Krishna says in chapter 9 that Patram Pushpam Palam Toyam Yome Bhaktya Prachati. So you can just offer me a leaf, a flower, water, and fruit. So I accept. So how is it that the Lord is in Goloka, but then how is he able to accept it? Because he is all pervading. He is everywhere. So he's even in the atom. No, he's in Goloka and also he's in a atom. So this speaks about the inconceivable potency of the Lord. So soul is pervading. Yeah, Srila Prabhupada confirms that this verse describes the super soul and not the living entity. Sarvendriya guna bhasam sarvendriya vivarjitam asaktam sarvakruchaiva nirgunam guna bhoktrucha.
The super soul is the original source of all senses, yet he is without senses. He is unattached, although he is the maintainer of all living beings. He transcends the modes of nature, and at the same time, he is the master of all modes of material nature. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. So Krishna is the original source of all senses, then he is without senses. So what does it mean? So without senses means he don't have a material senses like us. We all our senses are material, right? But then Krishna has a spiritual senses, and we know that with his senses he can do a function of other sense. One sense can do the function of other senses. So that is why the Lord's senses are transcendental. And we see how, like in the mind, he create the entities, and how from his navel, Garbhoda Sai Vishnu's navel, how Lord Brahma is created. So, and in from his pores of his skin, also so many Brahmandas create. And actually, two things are mentioned. Some places it is mentioned that from Mahavishnu's breathing, that the universe is created. And in one of the shloka in Brahma Samhita, it is said that from the pores of the skin of the Mahavishnu, so innumerable universes come out. So anything is possible. So he is not limited to one organ. So any organ can do any function of other organs. So that is the but we are actually, our senses are spiritual. We do have spiritual senses, but then because we are in contact of the material nature, it becomes contaminated. And because of that, we identify. I mean, we are restricted to use the material senses. But Krishna is transcendental and he's not contaminated. And Krishna's eyes are also like our eyes are material eyes, but Krishna's eyes is transcendental. That is why he's able to see the past, present, and future. Right. So Krishna says, in chapter 4 also that bahuni me vyatitani janmani tavacharjuna tanyam veda sarvani nattam ved parantapa. So many lives you and me have taken. So I remember all of them. How is it Krishna is able to remember? Because of the transcendental eyes he has. So he is the master of all modes. So that is why Krishna is called as Hrishikesha. No, and also he is a Hrishikesha means master of all senses, master of senses, and he is the one who has created the modes of nature. Right? He is a master of all the material modes. Bahirantascha bhutanam acharancharamev cha sukshmattat tadavigneyam durastam chantike cha tat. Yeah.
The supreme truth exists both internally and externally, in the moving and non-moving. He is beyond the power of the material senses to see or to know. Although far away, he is also near to all. Hare Krishna Maharaj.
Hare Krishna. So how can we understand this, that he's far, he's near, he's moving, not moving? So all these are given in Shastras, and only through Shastras one can understand the Lord. That is why with our material senses we can't understand. Ata Shri Krishna Namadi na bhaved grahyam indriyam sevon mukhe jivvadau swayameva spurati yadaha. So Ata Shri Krishna Namadi, the Lord's name, pastime, right? His qualities, these cannot be we cannot understand by our own endeavor. So that is why these Gnanis, many years of millions of years, they do their own mental speculation, and they are not able to come to a final conclusion which is the highest, or no, they can't understand Bhagwan, because Krishna does not reveal in that way. He only reveals when he is pleased with the devotional service. So Ata Shri Krishna Namadi na bhavet grahyam indriyam. Indriya means the material senses. He is not revealed. So here it is said that Krishna exists both internally and externally. He's there even in our in the body. He is there as Paramatma. Also outside, also he is there. So outside the material world, he is the one who has created the material world. So if we, I mean, Krishna can make us forget if we don't want to think about him, and he can, I mean, being as Paramatma, he can either make us forget if I am engaging in material sense gratification, or he can revive our consciousness also, right? So if he is pleased with our devotional service. Avibhaktam cha bhuteshu vibhaktam iva cha sthitam bhutabhratru cha tajgneyam grasishnu prabhavishnu cha. Okay.
Although the super soul appears to be divided among all beings, he is never divided. He is situated as one. Although he is the maintainer of every living entity, it is to be understood that he devours and develops all. Hare Krishna.
Yeah, Hare Krishna. So we can see that in the all the living entities, the one thing which is the common one, the super soul is present in all the entities. So he, though it looks like he's in different entities, so it looks like a divided, but it is not so. And so for that, Prabhupada gives an example of the sun. So sun appears to be I mean, everywhere in the different part of the world, when a person sees, it looks like it is just above him, right? So, but then it looks like it looks though like divided, but it is at one place. So similarly, the Lord is also one, but then it is perceived like that. It looks like though divided, but he is the maintainer of every living entity, and he devotes and develops all. So we know that Krishna, I mean, when there is a creation happens, so Krishna only develops all the entities, and then when there is annihilation, everybody goes into the right. Actually, in the final devastation, all the entities go into the inside the Mahavishnu, but in partial devastation, that is end of Brahma's one day, they go into the Garbhodakashayi Vishnu. So Krishna is the one who is the maintainer, who is the creator, and who annihilates also. Jyotishamapi tajyotihi tamasah paramuchyate jnanam neyam jnanagamyam hridhi sarvasya vishtitam.
He is the source of light in all luminous objects. He is beyond the darkness of matter and is unmanifested. He is knowledge. He is the object of knowledge, and he is the goal of knowledge. He is situated in everyone's heart. Hare Krishna.
Yeah. So anything that is luminous, so that light, the Krishna is the source of all that, right? So in this material world, everything, I mean, it is covered by Mahatattva. It is dark. The material elements have covered the material world. So nothing is visible. That is why we need sun here. And the sun also is coming from, the source is Krishna only. So in the spiritual world, Krishna says, it comes in chapter 15, that na tad bhasayate suryah na shashanko na pavakah yad gatva na nivardante tad dhamma paramam mama. So na tad bhasayate surya na shashanka na so he says that there is no need of sun or moon or stars in my spiritual planet. But then here in material world, whatever we see that is luminous, we have to think. Even the fire, it's all, everything, it's a external energy of the Lord. So everything is coming from Krishna, and he is the knowledge, and he is the object of knowledge, right? So if one has to get liberated, and then he has to surrender to Supreme Personality of Godhead. So super soul is source of all of light in all luminous object, is beyond the matter and is unmanifested. He is knowledgeable, object of knowledge, and goal of knowledge. So the why are we studying about the Prakriti, the Jiva, and the super soul, right? So Krishna is the object of that. So goal is to attain the Lord. He is situated in everyone's heart. That's also said in chapter 15 also. Sarvasya chaham hridhi sannivishto. Krishna says that I am situated in everyone's heart. Iti kshetram tata jnanam neyam choktam samasatah madbhakta etad vignaya madbhava hyopapadyate.
Thus, the field of activities, the body, knowledge, and the knowable have been summarily described by me. Only my devotees can understand this thoroughly and thus attain to my nature. Hare
Yeah.
Krishna Mataji.
Hare Krishna. So Prabhupada explains here that about the that in the shloka 6 to 7, field of activity is being explained, right? And then from that Mahabhutanya Hankara, right? That starts with, and then from 8 to 12, process of knowledge is being explained, right? So how to what is the process of knowledge? So through which a person can advance in spiritual life, right? So that is the qualities one has to develop. So that is the process of knowledge in 8 to 12, and 13 to 8 speaks about the super soul. And here it is said, only my devotees can understand this. So the jnanis or the nobody can, no one else are able to understand this knowledge. So only through bhakti. Bhaktya mamabhi janati, Krishna says that only through bhakti you will be able to know me. So section E, Krishna answers question 1 and 2, Prakriti Purusha and their union. Prakritim Purusham Chaiva Vidyanadi Ubhavapi Vikaramscha Gunans Chaiva Vidhi Prakriti Sambhavan.
Material nature and the living entities should be understood to be beginningless. Their transformations and their modes of matter are products of material nature. Hare Krishna.
Yeah. So both are eternal. It's always existing. Material nature and living entities to be understood as they are also eternal. So the transformation and product of matter means, so whatever we see in the material nature, it is because of the when a living entity it is when it is coming in contact with the material nature. So then there is a so many product, like we see the so many living entities coming into existence because of different gunas, right? So it's called like permutation and combination, like a plus combination. That is like there are so many different possible ways because of different gunas. So all these animal or 84 lakh species that we have, they all based on different what you say gunas, right? Some percentage will vary in that. Like some animals, they may be like, if we take even in the animals, in all the categories, in all the species, there is 3 gunas. So next chapter will be about the 3 gunas only, right? So the cow is said to be in the sattva guna, right? So the tiger, it is said to be in the rajoguna, and tamoguna is dog, and so they are the lower species of animals, they are in tamoguna. So these are all the combination because of their desires. The material nature has given them the different bodies based on their desires. And why is this material nature is made actually? So that Krishna created this material world so that the living entities can come here to fulfill their desire, no? Fulfill their desire, and then but then if they get they have to cultivate the spiritual knowledge, then they can go back to the spiritual abode of the Lord. Otherwise, we have to keep on taking different lives. कार्यकरणकर्तृत्वे हेतुः प्रकृतिरुच्यते पुरुषः सुखदुःखानां भोक्तृत्वे हेतुरुच्यते.
Nature is said to be the cause of all material causes and effects, whereas the living entity is the cause of various sufferings and enjoyments in this world. Hare Krishna.
Yes. So it is said here that living entity in material nature thus follows the way, enjoying the 3 mode of nature. So because we have that little independence is being given, right? we are misusing that. And because of our association with different modes, we are getting the different type of bodies. So if he is getting into good association, and or if he is in coming into like pious activity he does, so he can get a body of a demigod. But then if he is going into a bad association, right, the person can fall down to evil species. So this is again, the Krishna also explains this in chapter 16 also, how a person degrades himself when he is not following as per the Shastras, right? So anything else is there? Yeah. So this actually, this shloka also, we can understand that this speaks about the transmigration of the soul. So just if we remember the story of Bharat Maharaj, no, Bharat Maharaj was actually thinking about the deer, and so how he got the next body as deer. So based on our whatever consciousness we have, no, same thing is in 8th chapter also Krishna says that whatever consciousness you have at the time of death, so similar body we are going to get. So association with different modes uh, gets at, I mean, we get into different species of life. But then similarly, if we get in association with the higher, that is with the Supreme Lord, then we can go to we can get a spiritual body also. Purusha prakritisto hi bhungte prakriti jan gunan karanam guna sangostya sadasadyo nijanmasu.
The living entity in material nature thus follows the ways of life, enjoying the three modes of nature. This is due to his association with that material nature. Thus, he meets with good and evil amongst various species. Hare Krishna.
Yeah, Hare Krishna. So this is the same regarding the association. So this previous shloka also we can see, you know, in the picture, how like because he's associated, no? If a person is said, no, there is no discrimination in the eating, eat everything or which is forbidden for human beings. So then accordingly the nature will give. So just like I mean, a tailor will make dress suiting our body, right? So similarly, the material nature, I mean, based on Krishna's instruction, will prepare a certain body which as per my desire. So here we can see how being in the association, it's divine means they can go into higher species. Otherwise, after death, no, it can either he can go into a lower species or in the higher species based on the consciousness he has. Desire to enjoy forges the bond between Purusha and Prakriti. Association with material nature leads to different good and evil among species. Upadrashtanumanta cha bharta bhokta maheshwarah paramatmeti chapyuktah dehesmin purushah parah.
Yet in this body there is another, a transcendental enjoyer who is the Lord, the supreme proprietor, who exists as the overseer and permitter, and who is known as the super soul. Hare Krishna.
Yeah. So in this body there are two knowers, right? Krishna speaks about that one is the soul and the other is the super soul. So the soul is enjoyer of its own body, but Krishna is the transcendental enjoyer, and he is the supreme proprietor. And who? What is the function of a super soul? He is actually overseeing everything, no, overseeing and permitting, like seeing what are the activities the jiva is doing, and he is making an account of it. And then if I am eligible, it's not that whatever we desire everything we'll get, but Krishna will approve based on our if we deserve it, then Krishna will approve it. य एवं वेत्ति पुरुषं प्रकृतिं च गुणैः सह सर्वथा वर्तमानोऽपि न स भूयोऽभिजायते.
One who understands this philosophy concerning material nature, the living entity, and the interaction of the modes of nature is sure to attain liberation. He will not take birth here again, regardless of his present position. Hare Krishna.
Yes. So this is like a Shruti Pala, no? So if one understands this philosophy concerning material nature, so we understand yesterday that what are the material elements, the 24 material elements, and by how it is when it is interacting, the soul when it becomes conditioned, and with that 24 element when it interact, so then there is a happiness, desire, hatred, right? And these things, suffering, whatever we get, that is because of the interaction. So when a person is, and also there is a soul and there is a super soul. So when this is understood, so then through a this is surely will take for liberation. So basically Krishna has given this Bhagavad Gita as a guide for us so that we understand everything. So and he and also he's there as Paramatma also to guide us. If he's waiting so that how when we turn towards the Lord so that he can instruct us. So this is the same thing. Knowledge of truly understanding the relationship between soul and super soul, result, liberation, and return to spiritual world. What is the purpose of knowledge? To understand how the living entity has fallen into this material world in a precarious condition. So how to understand the position, our position? So we have to understand through the Shastras, correct? ध्यानेनात्मनि पश्यन्ति केचिदात्मानमात्मना अन्ये सांख्येन योगेन कर्मयोगेन चापरे.
That super soul is perceived by some through meditation, by some through the cultivation of knowledge, and by others through working without fruitive desire. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Yeah. So it's different yoga, like jnanis, no? Jnanis, they perceive the Lord through meditating upon the Lord, and then through cultivation of knowledge, and some are by working without fruitive desire, that is Nishkama Karma Yoga. So all the different ways of knowing the Lord, Krishna is explaining here. So different yogas. Two class of people in conditioned soul. One is faithful in spiritual life. So he takes the different path. So dhyana, some through meditation, and the Sankhya Yoga, cultivation of knowledge, and Karma Yoga or the Nishkama Karma Yoga, working without fruitive desire. So other class of people are atheists, agnostics, and skeptics. So Prabhupada also, the monist or who think that the Mayavadis also, Prabhupada brings them here because they deny the existence of the Supreme Lord. No? So because they say that they are, there is no form and you can become one with the Lord. So that is not right. Krishna says that he is separate from the soul. So devotees of the Lord are best situated in spiritual understanding because they know that beyond the material nature or spiritual world and Supreme Personality of Godhead who expands as Paramatma. So in chapter 10 also Krishna says that after explaining all appearances, he says that what is there to understand, or why do we have to know all this knowledge? Because I have expanded myself in the, it's all my plenary expansion. Just with one expansion, I'm maintaining everything. That is, he's talking about Paramatma there. Ekam Shena Sthito Jagat, he says, the Paramatma. Anye tvevamajanantah श्रुत्वान्येभ्य उपासते तेपि चातितरन्त्येव मृत्युश्रुतिपरायणाः.
Again, there are those who, although not conversant in spiritual knowledge, begin to worship the Supreme Person upon hearing about him from others. Because of their tendency to hear from authorities, they also transcend the path of birth and death. Hare Krishna.
Yeah, Hare Krishna. So even the people who are who may be not very well versed in scriptures, so that people also, if they have faith in the scriptures and if they hear to some authority, right? See here, they can also surpass this, the path of death and birth and death here, the Lord says. So here in the picture, we can see that the Kapila Muni is actually instructing this knowledge to his mother, Devahuti. So Devahuti was only serving her husband as a very chaste wife, and she was very dedicated. And the Kardama Muni, he was a great saint. So he was, but then how can she transcend this, no, for birth and death? So her son is instructing. So even by hearing also, the people can surpass this. So we have many instances where even the great souls want to hear this transcendental knowledge. Like Vidura goes to Maitreya Muni to hear about this, right? And Uddhava hears from the Lord Krishna himself. So, and in Bhagavad Gita, we see that how Arjuna also heard from Lord, the Lord himself directly, right? And then he was ready to fight. He came out of the body because this what the spiritual masters or the spiritual master will do is that so he will bring us out of this material conception of life so that we understand what is I mean above this what is this material nature, and what is that I'm not body, I'm soul, and this knowledge, so we can understand only from the proper source, right? From a realized source, persons. Yeah, okay, you can read, Prabhu.
A common man, if he is a good soul, he can advance by hearing. Hearing process, Shravanam, is very important. Lord Chaitanya preached Krishna consciousness in the modern world. He gave great stress to hearing. Lord Chaitanya emphasized on hearing the transcendental vibration Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. On hearing from realized souls, gradually worship of the Supreme Lord follows. Although the common man is often not as capable as so-called philosophers, faithful hearing from authoritative persons will help one transcend this material existence and go back home to Godhead. Hare Krishna.
Yeah, Hare Krishna. So we hear many times, no, that hearing is also the Shravanam is the first one in the Navavida Bhakti. Shravanam comes the first. So hearing is also so effective. If a person is able to hear effectively also, he can transcend this material existence. The last section, Jnana Chakshu, the vision of knowledge. Let's cut. यावत् संजायते किंचित् सत्वं स्थावर जंगमं क्षेत्र क्षेत्रज्ञ संयोगात् तद्विद्धि भरतर्षभा.
O chief of the Bharatas, know that whatever you see in existence, both the moving and the non-moving, is only a combination of the field of activities and the knower of the field. Hare Krishna Mataji.
Yeah. So whatever we see in this material nature, right, it is a combination of living entity and the material nature. So whatever we see, it could be the manifestation in the material nature. It could be mountain, trees, hills, right? Either it is moving or non-moving. Everything is a combination. So yeah, is only a combination of field of activities and the knower of field. So, but the material nature is said to be the inferior one, but the living entity is of the superior nature, right? This we see Krishna confirms in Bhagavad Gita. So actually the superior thing, the living entity exploits the material nature. So spiritually realized person can distinguish between circumstance and matter in all circumstances. So we can see here in the picture, right? So the material world, right? Here people think that that they are enjoying, but actually it is not enjoying. They don't know like what would be their next life if they are engaging in the activities which are forbidden in the Shastras. But this jnana, that real knowledge is only there because the spiritually realized person knows that that is not the enjoyment. That is very, it is because we don't have a taste for the higher thing. So, but when somebody takes to devotional service, he then understands how much taste is there in this spiritual knowledge. No, param drishtva nivartate. In chapter 2, Krishna says. So, even though we are not interested, also one should forcefully engage, because initially that is called sadhana. No, sadhana bhakti means we are not doing this chanting out of love for Krishna or anything, but then because Prabhupada has given us instruction, we have to chant. And the other day, His Grace Ramanishra Prabhuji was telling, somebody asked in the class that I'm not getting interest to chant, because some days I do, but then some days without, I feel like it like an obligation. I have to finish it and I have to finish. Like there's no that mood is not there to chant. No. So then he was saying, but always keep in mind that for what you are doing, and by because we should know it is because of Prabhupada's instructions I am chanting this. So when we have that in mind, so then even the chanting, even if it is not of full quality, still it becomes transcendental, because I'm not doing for anything else or my personal sense gratification or anything, but it is to please the my Guru and Krishna. So then that becomes also transcendental. So this knowledge we can only get from spiritually realized people, right? So whatever you see is a combination of field of activities and the knower of the field. So field of activities means what? The material body is also a field of activity, right? Samam sarveshu bhuteshu tishtantam parameshwaram vinashyat vinashyantam yaf pashyati sapashyati.
One who sees the super soul accompanying the individual soul in all bodies, and who understands that neither the soul nor the super soul is ever destroyed, actually sees. Hare Krishna.
Yeah. So actual seer means who is not just seeing somebody on the bodily platform, right? He does not see somebody as a dog, cat, or animal like that. King, rich, poor, women, man, like that. No differentiation. He is able to see that the super soul is there in everyone. So we can see it. So this is also no Vidya Vinaya Sampanne. When a person is in real knowledge, in chapter 5 we see Krishna says Vidya Vinaya Sampanne Brahmane Kavihastini Shuni Chaiva Swapakecha Pandita Samadarshinaha. So such person is the actual seer who is able to see a dog, Brahmane Gavihastini. So a Brahmana, an elephant, and a dog and a dog eater, right? Everyone on an equal platform. So he knows that they have all got this because of the karma, but then actually it is the same soul. Soul and also the super soul, which is different from the body. Okay. How such vision is possible? By good association with real knower of spiritual object. Who is a man in knowledge, real knowledge? One who can see three things in proper perspective: the body, its proprietor, the soul, and the super soul as the friend of the soul. Samam pashyan hi sarvatra samavasthitam ishwaram nahi nasyatmanatmanam tato yati param gatim.
One who sees the super soul equally present everywhere in every living being does not degrade himself by his mind. Thus, he approaches the transcendental destination. Hare Krishna.
Yeah. So basically, it is said that mind, because mind is a material, and it is more always attached to the sense gratification or sense object. So sense it wants to do engage in sense enjoyment, no? Because even while chanting, mind is so distracting. Why? Because it is not able to concentrate. It wants to engage in sense activity, which gives sense pleasure, because mind is also material. But then if the same mind, if we are able to associate with the higher thing, the same mind will become our friend. No, bandhuratmatmanastasya yenatmaivatmano jitaha. So there Krishna says in chapter 6 that a mind can be one's own friend and mind can be one's own enemy. So it's all because what you feed to your mind, that is what the mind will give. What is our thoughts actually? Whatever we feed it, no? Whatever you see with your eyes. So how do we engage our senses? So the same thing the mind will give. So how do we see that the some children when they are brought up in a very nice devotee family, or they are born in a devotee family, the children are they are so much interested in all like kirtan, doing kirtan, or it could be doing japa. We see that in the YouTube, no? So small children, like they're chanting the holy name. And how did they get that taste? Yes, some from the previous life, because they have done that. Krishna says in chapter 6, Purvabhyasena tenaiva, because of the previous lives. But then still, it is because their mind, they have not seen anything else. They are engaged. They are being, the mind has only seen those things since the birth. So that is why it is very important how we train. When we are young, if you are able to train your mind and you are able to fix in our consciousness in the Lord, so it becomes easy for us to remember at the time of death. Otherwise, it's not so easy, right? So what is the current situation of living entity? One has situated himself differently than in spiritual world. So spiritual world means he is having a spiritual body, right? So role of the mind is generally addicted to sense gratification, which binds a living entity. So yeah. So when mind turns to super soul, it can become advanced. प्रकृत्यैव च कर्माणि क्रियमाणानि सर्वशः यः पश्यति तथात्मानम् अकर्तारं च पश्यति.
One who can see that all activities are performed by the body, which is created of material nature, and sees that the self does nothing, actually sees. Hare Krishna.
Yeah. So this body is given by the Lord to satisfy our desire. No, this body is just like a machine. We can see in the picture. So it's all different parts are working like a different machine. There is a video also in YouTube I saw once, like how so nicely Krishna has designed, so scientifically it has been designed by the Lord, and how it is working. No, so much. I mean, that is why he's a supreme engineer, the Lord. So it is designed for me to fulfill my desire. So based on my desire, certain type of body is given, right? And in that I start enjoying or I suffer based on the body, because it is restricted. If I'm got a dog body, I have to behave like a dog. No, the person has to bark. The soul also, though it is eternal, pure, and everything, because of the limitation of the body, it acts based on the body it has got. So the real seer is someone who is able to see that the soul is not doing anything. It's all because the three modes of material nature, right? It is making the person to act in that way. So one who becomes transcendental to three modes, so he is able to see that uh, the self does nothing. Yada bhuta pratak bhavam ekastamanu tata eva cha vistaram brahma sampadyate tada.
When a sensible man ceases to see different identities due to different material bodies, and he sees how beings are expanded everywhere, he attains to the Brahman conception. Hare Krishna.
Yeah. So when a person, like when he attains spiritual vision, how? Because after the association, what happens? We see that Shravanam, this one, in the stages of bhakti, right? Shraddha, Sadhu Sangha, Bhajana Kriya. So Bhajana Kriya, and then the person starts engaging in the chanting of the holy name, and slowly by chanting we get purified. No? So the mind also become purified. So the mind, after it becomes purified, then he develops the pure consciousness. In that, he is able to see that whatever is there, the it's all the same soul is being expanded everywhere. So that vision he gets. So it is like he does not see anymore on the bodily platform. The absence of any material differentiation because of different bodies. He sees how beings are expanded everywhere. So we see if the example of Mrugari, right? He was I mean, he was a hunter and he was cruelly, he was killing the animals, like half killed, he used to dissect the animal, and then he was seeing them suffer and die. But then after he got in association with Narada Muni and he started chanting the holy name of the Lord, after he became purified, what happens then, next time when after few months or years, when Narada Muni comes and he wanted to pay obeisances, and then on the road he sees the small ants, no, but he didn't wanted to even uh, kill them. So because he was able to see the soul, so that is the real seer, right? That when that vision comes, a person is able to see that every living entity is on the soul platform. Anaditvat nirgunatvat paramatmayam avyayah sharirasthopi kaunteya nakaroti na lipyate.
Those with the vision of eternity can see that the imperishable soul is transcendental, eternal, and beyond the modes of nature. Despite contact with the material body, O Arjuna, the soul neither does anything nor is entangled. Hare Krishna.
Yeah. So this is the eternity of the soul, right? The imperishable soul is transcendental. So this has been explained by in various shlokas in chapter 2 also, right? And Krishna says that he says that there was no time that you are not there, not these kings. No, they all existed the way we are all existed eternally. So what is there to lament? So because Arjuna didn't wanted to kill them, Krishna says that नत्वेवाहं जातुनासं नत्वं नेमे जनाधिपाः न चैव न भविष्यामः सर्वे वयमतः परम्. There was no time there was no time then they didn't exist, the kings didn't exist, or not you or me. So we are all eternal. That means Krishna was talking about the soul, but every time we are taking a new body. So we are actually, the soul is said to be transcendental, and that is why, because it is transcendental, though it comes in contact with the material body, it does not get entangled, because it is not material. Soul is not material, it is eternal. So I mean, Krishna explains with the okay, there's no shloka here. So there here he speaks about the analogy is being given here. Yeah, so what is the shloka? Yatha sarvagatam saukshmyat akasham nopalipyate sarvatha vastito dehe tatatma nopalipyate. So, yes, Prabhu.
Yeah. The sky, due to its subtle nature, does not mix with anything, although it is all pervading. Similarly, the soul situated in Brahman vision does not mix with the body, though situated in the body.
Yeah. So here, now currently we are identifying with our body. So it is a false ego. But a person, when he comes, he elevates himself by developing knowledge, spiritual knowledge to Brahman platform, right? Then he will not mix with the body. So then whatever the physical inconvenience he has, everything, so he does not get disturbed by that, because he understands that these are all the nature of material body, which is ever changing, and we cannot, I mean, he don't have any control on that, but then he can remain equipoised in all the situation, right? So because he is not, because he know that he is not that body. So here the example is given of the sky, how the sky is coming in the contact with anything, right? Here also we see that it is touching the ocean, right? So but then it does not get mixed with it. So similarly, the body, though the soul does not get mixed with the body. And Prabhupada gives in the puppet that just like how the air is also entering everywhere, no? Irrespective of if it is mud or water, but then it does not mix with anything. So similarly, the soul is there in this body, and it does not get mixed with the blood or anything, whatever we have inside the body, the soul does not. That is why it is able to come out and take another body when it uh, leaves this. I mean, it decide to, or the lifespan is over in certain body, when a soul decides to get another body, right? It can leave the body and take the next body. यथा प्रकाशयत्येकः कृत्स्नं लोकमिमं रविः क्षेत्रं क्षेत्री तथा कृत्स्नं प्रकाशयति तत्परं प्रकाशयति भारत.
O son of Bharata, as the sun alone illuminates all this universe, so does the living entity, one within the body, illuminate the entire body by consciousness. Hare Krishna.
Yeah. So just like how the sun can eliminate darkness, so when sun comes on the sky, so immediately all the darkness is gone, right? So similarly, when there is a consciousness in the body, it gets energy, it becomes lively, the body. Otherwise, so what is the difference between a dead body and a living body? The consciousness only, no? Otherwise, everything is same. So all the material. So if a scientist believe that it's made of all chemical components, so one of the Prabhupada said that I will give you all that, right? If we give that all the chemical components, can somebody make a human being? No, because that consciousness is not there. So consciousness actually it is coming from the Supreme Lord. So that is the which is eliminating everything. So though it is only staying at the heart, so the consciousness is there in the heart, but then for the whole body it is giving. So whole body is active because the consciousness is there. So some people we see, right, when they get stroke on one part of the body, the consciousness is not there. No, there the consciousness is not there, so it is not moving. So actually this body is dead material. And in chapter 3 also, where Krishna says that indriyani manobuddhi, indriyani paranyahuhu, yes, indriyani paranyahuhu, indriyebhyascha param manaha manastastu paro buddhihi yo buddhe paratastu saha. So the Krishna says that the dead matter, this body, higher to this dead body, that the matter is the senses. Higher to senses is the mind. Higher to mind is the soul, right? So so this knowledge we only get in this in the Bhagavad Gita. Nowhere we get this knowledge that there is something called soul. Kshetra Kshetragnayorevam antaram jnana chakshusha bhuta prakriti mokshancha ye viduryanti te param.
One who knowingly sees this difference between the body and the owner of the body and can understand the process of liberation from this bondage also attains to the supreme goal. Hare Krishna Mataji.
Hare Krishna. So understanding the difference, right? So Prabhupada says that the main purport of this shlok verse, I mean the chapter, is to understand the difference between the to know the distinction between the body, the owner of the body, and the super soul. And we understood the process of liberation in 8 to chapter verse 8 to 12. So how should one understand this? Being in the good association and accepting a spiritual master, because he can only free the disciple from the material concept of life, just like how Arjuna was able to made free from the materialic conception. Yeah. So understanding the material world and the constitution of the soul and 24 elements, understanding the position of Supreme. So when one understands this, and one has to contemplate on these things, and then he gets the realization with the help of the realized souls, right? So this is the, I think this is the same, or sorry, this is the same shloka. So seeing with the eyes of knowledge, the jnana chakshushu. The difference between the body and knower of body, the process of liberation from bondage of material nature. So higher to jnana chakshushu is the prema chakshu actually. So there is one is the charma chakshu, that is material eyes. Jnana chakshu is the seeing with eyes of knowledge. Prema chakshu means with love. So which devotees in when they are in doing devotional service, so Krishna gives all this knowledge. No need to personally endeavor. So teshame evanukampartam aham agnanajam tamaha nashayamyatma bhavasto jnana deepena bhasvata. Krishna says no in 10.11 or 12, 10.10 or 11 it comes. So where how Krishna says that whoever is engaged in devotional service, I give them the necessary knowledge and I remove all the ignorance. And one can attain the supreme goal. Yeah, Prabhu.
This chapter elaborates the distinction between the body, the owner of the body, and the supersoul. Recognizing the process of liberation described in verses 8 to 12, one can reach the supreme destination. One should be in good association to hear of God, accept a spiritual master, learn to distinguish between matter and spirit, and thereby attain spiritual realization. One can understand that this body is matter, gross manifestation made of 24 elements. The subtle manifestation is the mind and psychological effects. Symptoms of life are the interaction of these features. But above all is the soul and supersoul. The soul and the supersoul are two. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Yes. So with this we come to the end of the chapter. So we saw the 6 sections. So it started with Arjuna's question. What is Prakriti? What is Purusha, Kshetra, Kshetragna, Jnanam and Gnam? So Krishna gave the answers. So Prakriti is the material nature, right? Purusha is the Jiva. Kshetra is the body. Kshetragna is the knower. The two Kshetragnas, one is the soul and the other super soul. So Jnanam is to know the difference between all this, the Kshetra and Kshetragna. Gnam and the goal of the knowledge is to know the Lord, the object, right? So Krishna further answers to question 3, 4, and the field of activities and knower of field. Krishna further answers to question 5, the process of knowledge and liberation. Krishna further answers to question 6, object of knowledge. Krishna answers to question 1 and 2, Prakriti, Purusha and their union. And through Jnana Chakshusha is the vision of knowledge. So one has to see and understand with the vision of knowledge. So, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna. Thank you.
Hare Krishna Mataji.
Hare Krishna. Thank you.
Hare Krishna Mataji. Thank you so much.
Hare Krishna. Thank you. Panchakalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhya eva cha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Anantakoti Vaishnavavrinda ki jai. Namacharya Das Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Okay. Anything on today's class you may ask if you have any question. We'll have to read again and understand, and yeah, I mean it will take it's not very easy chapter actually. this chapter. Even
Yeah, Mataji. It seems small chapter, but it's so much to understand from this. I
yeah,
think
yes,
we need to go through Purport once more and
yeah,
understand.
yeah. Even if we, I mean, over the time we keep reading many times, then slowly we get to understand. So it is not like in one reading we will understand, but slowly when we are reading, so we will be able to understand this.
Yeah, Mataji. Even yesterday also, all the concepts that you said, even to remember them, it was like
Yeah,
a lot of information.
too
Yeah.
much. Correct.
Yeah. So it will take some time to even like, that's why I was like writing a lot of notes so that it will help to refer back. Yeah, Mataji. So
Yeah.
maybe like I'll read it once more this week. And when I attempt
Yes.
the quiz, I'll ask you questions, Mataji, for sure.
Sure. If you have any doubts, you can message me. Okay.
Yeah, Mataji, because I do have doubts, but I don't know like how to put it right now. That's why I'm going to read once
Yeah.
more and I'll ask you.
Sure.
Yeah, Mataji. Thank you, Mataji. It was
Thank
very
you.
well explained. Thank you. Hare
Thank you.
Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Okay, then if there are no questions, we can close. We can chant once. Hare Krishna. Can chant twice. Yeah. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare,
Krishna
Hare
Krishna,
Rama,
Hare Hare,
Rama
Hare
Rama,
Rama,
Hare
Hare
Hare.
Rama, Ram.
Hare Krishna.
Bol.
Thank you,
Hare
everyone.
Krishna.
Hare
Hare
Krishna.
Krishna.